Yo, what's bracking out here, man? Now check this shit out, gang. 1/3 of the season is gone, and all the predictions before the league started that were made have gone to the dustbin. With 1/3 of the season gone though, now we can give some better assessment, man. And having said this shit, man, let's go down straight to business. Now let's start with Arsenal. Arsenal have been hands down the best football playing team out here, alongside Manchester City. And Gabriel Jesus, man, without a doubt, man, has changed the way they play. He has massively improved them. And when you think about Nketiah, Eddie is his replacement, man. If anything happened to Gabriel Jesus, that should make you tear up. But having said this shit, gang, there is a reason that Manchester City were actually okay to sell Gabriel Jesus to Arsenal. And the reason is he simply doesn't score every chance. He's not as clinical. Even though his build-up game is one of the best in the league, sometimes this homie can be found lacking. Now we saw it against Southampton. He had a couple of good chances and he missed them, and that cost Arsenal 2 points. And the fact that he started every game this season for Arsenal and he just has 5 goals for the leading team in the Premier League tells its own story. In comparison, Nunes from Liverpool has more goals in half the minutes played in the Premier League. But nevertheless, gang, the best player from Arsenal, man, for me, for YoungMully, has been none other than Xhaka. This homie has been transformed this season. He's playing a slightly different role than what he used to, and he's having quite a redemption out here, gang. And lastly, man, the only negative thing we can say about Arsenal this season is the fact that the squad seems too thin. And it will be interesting to see how they will fare if they rack up a couple of injuries. Yesterday we saw Nelson pulling up for the squad, man, after Saka got injured. But if they suffer a couple heavy injuries to the main members, man, it will be interesting to see how Arsenal will do after that. Next thing we finna hit is none other but Manchester City. They are hands down favorites for the league. Y'all see how they're playing. It's actually amazing how fast they adapted to Holland and how fast Holland has adapted to them. Because if y'all remember the beginning of the season, we were saying that's gonna be interesting to see. And the crazy part, man, Holland is not even their best player. Their best player is none other but Kevin De Bruyne, who's actually the best player in the league as well. And Manchester City at the moment, man, they look like the finished article. And this season, gang, if they do not win the Premier League title, it's gonna be some type of miracle out here, gang. And the only negative thing with Manchester City that we can say, bruh, is really hard to find one, but it's the fact that Holland's injury. Now, we talked about this before even Holland went to Manchester City. If y'all remember, back in March, we made a video out here, gang, and we were saying that Holland, the only perky thing with Holland is the fact that he suffers a lot of muscular injuries. We saw it with Dortmund over the years. And now, at Manchester City, he even missed the game against Leicester. Now, Pep Guardiola has tried his best to protect the homie. I believe Holland has just finished one game the full 90 minutes. Other than that, he's been getting subbed out before the time is up. And that's to protect him from the workload that the players are currently suffering. And that seems it hasn't been enough because Holland missed the game on the weekend against Leicester. And he looks set to miss the game in the Champions League as well in the midweek. And I guess we'll see how fit he will be during the whole season. But the advantage they have is the fact that Holland will get a proper rest during the World Cup because Norway ain't in that bitch. Now the next team in line is Tottenham. Tottenham actually low-key have been the most disappointing for me because I highly rate Conte and I expected a lot from these homies, especially with the signings they did. But one thing for sure we can say about these homies is the fact they lack creativity in the middle of the park. Yeah, gang, they're playing with hella defensive midfielders. Holberg is doing his best to reinvent himself. We saw the pass he gave to Sessegnon on the weekend, but at the moment, man, that doesn't look enough. And also, one more thing is the fact that against the big teams, Tottenham are getting rolled up. We saw them against United get smoked. Against Chelsea, they got smoked for real, but they was lucky to score in the last minute. Against Arsenal, that shit was even sad. And this upcoming weekend, they got a game against Liverpool. So it will be interesting to see if they will step up this time around against one of the big teams. But one thing Tottenham have done actually is the fact that they've compensated for their lack of creativity in the middle of the park by turning up in set pieces. Tottenham is the team with the most goals from set pieces, corners, free kicks. I believe they have 10 or 11. Even on the weekend against Bournemouth when they were losing 2-0 and they went on to win 3-2, they scored 2 set pieces. And in the league, man, they have scored more set pieces than any other team. So shout out to them for that fact, man. Now the next team is none other but Manchester United. Now Manchester United hands down are the most improved team. From the top 6 out here, hands down they're the most improved team. The way they started the season was abysmal. We gave them a lot of criticism for that. But since then they've bounced back. The midget Martinez has been one of the best defenders in the league. Man, the comment of Jamie Carragher saying He is convinced this can't work in a back four. Lisandro Martinez can never play in the Premier League like that. Man, that comment will go down in history because he's looking dumb as fuck with everyday passing, man. And shout out to Diogo Dalot as well while we're at it, man. But United's biggest weakness, man, when y'all see at the table is the fact that they have 1+ goal in goal difference. So that means they ain't scoring that many goals because they've conceded only 1 goal in the last 6. So if they ain't conceding goals bar the games Brentford and Manchester City, that means they ain't scoring much. So how come they're scoring so little goals? Now one might ask, maybe the strikers are missing a lot of chances. But that's not the case, gang. When y'all look at the statistics even a little bit closer, y'all see United on average have 1.57 expected goals per game. And they're scoring about 1.5 goals per game on average. So they're actually scoring at the rate they're creating chances. But when you look at the statistics even closer, you see that Manchester United are number 1 for shots taken per game. And yet, for expected goals, they are number 10 in the league. That means this tells you that United are not creating clear-cut chances, but they're shooting a lot. And then when you go closer and see at the statistics yet again, you see United's average shot is at a distance of 16 meters. That means United players are shooting left and right from way outside the box. Now granted, United have a lot of shooters in this team, from Bruno, Eriksen, Ronaldo, etc. But they gotta start creating more clear-cut chances, because United have already won over 6 games just by 1 goal difference. We saw yesterday against West Ham, De Gea had to do some mad saves. And long term, this is not sustainable. But one thing for sure, man, they're improving every game. And if they start creating more chances and especially score more goals, they will definitely go far, gang. Having said this shit, gang, the next team we're gonna swing by is none other but Chelsea. Now, so far Chelsea's season can be split into 2. The one under Tuchel and the one under Graham Potter. Under Tuchel, they had a very slow start by their standards. That's why the homie didn't survive. It was a shock to everybody, you know what I'm saying? The manager was looking frustrated every game. But having said that shit, gang, Graham Potter actually have changed the fortunes of Chelsea so far, even though he lost his first game against Brighton over the weekend when they bent over and handed Brighton the loop. Now, this is the hardest team to call so far because they have games that they played really good. Mason Mount have been really good yet again. Kepa has probably been the biggest revelation from them this season. He has 91.5% save. That's the highest in the league so far. But somehow, gang, I don't know why is it, man, I don't feel convinced by these homies. And not to mention they're currently suffering 2 major injuries to 2 main members, and that's Kante and Reece James. Especially without Reece James this season, man, they have managed to win only 1 game. But it does feel like Chelsea are somewhat in this transitional time, and the World Cup yet again will help Chelsea as well. It will definitely give Graham Potter more time to work with the members who ain't going to the World Cup and to assert his influence on the team. It will be some kind of a mini preseason, you see what I'm saying, gang? And it feels as though they're in some transitional period and that they will need time, Graham Potter will need time, but at this level, man, that's one thing you ain't got. Now, next in line is none other than Liverpool, and at this point, man, these homies should just aim for the top 4 finish. It's been such a disappointing season, man. They're getting smoked by teams at the end of the table, Nottingham, the Leeds, and there's a couple of reasons for that, man. First of all, man, not only injuries, there are players out of form. Joey Gomez, for instance, he gave the ball away 25 times against Leeds. Damn, when your defender's wailing out like that, you know you ain't got much chance. And then not to mention even Fabinho, Salah. Man, these homies are out of form. They're not the same players they were last season. And not to mention Henderson. Man, actually, I'm gonna keep it real. I never rated Henderson. Over the years, he's been pushing above his weight. But this season, man, it looks like he's back to his original self. And not to mention, gang, Liverpool are getting eaten alive in the midfield. Thiago is injury prone. And when you look at the stats, Liverpool have signed only 1 central midfielder in the last 8 transfer windows. And the fact that James Milner has featured in every Premier League game, bar 1, man, just tells you their squad options are dire at the moment. And lucky for these homies, man, the World Cup has come right in time to give them a breather and to reunite and to compose themselves. We already made a video in the beginning of the season. We said, is this the 7th season curse for Klopp? We've already seen this kind of trend in the first 2 teams, Jurgen Klopp was a coach, and if y'all wanna see that shit in depth, I'ma put the link in the description. And for sure gang, for sure, the injuries have played a major role as well. And talking about players not being informed too, Van Dijk is another one who's been suffering from that shit. But we really can't underestimate the injuries, the amount of injuries they have suffered as well. We gotta put that into context. And not to mention Sadio Mane as well. Now we're realizing how important that guy was to the team. But one thing positive for them is Darwin Núñez. Of course, he hasn't been like Holland at Manchester City, but he has shown a lot of promise. And there's no doubt, man, this homie will turn up as well, gang. But lastly and not least, I'm finna talk about Newcastle, gang. Man, Newcastle are my favorite at the moment. They busting for real, for real. Currently, they're at 4th place, and they deserve to be at that place, man. No cap, they earned that shit, gang. When you see these homies, man, it feels as though there's no team that works as hard as these guys. For every tackle, they're out there, they're hungry hyenas, they're ready to eat and smoke a motherfucker just to get the ball, gang. And one thing, man, have you seen their midfielders, Joelinton and Bruno? Man, how good are those motherfuckers? Damn. But who do y'all think will finish in the top 4? Hit me up with your list on the comment box. It's your boy YoungMully. Like, subscribe, and I'm out.